While I am an author, and of course, being a part of AuthorTube and making this channel about writing, I will be talking mostly about my books, but I am also. I feel nervous calling myself it. It's the imposter syndrome, but I am a lyricist. I have written over 20 songs of my own. And I say lyricist because all of my songs are lyrics. I haven't actually produced any music to most of them. The only one that I have music to, it doesn't even fit it anymore because I originally wrote a guitar piece for it back when I first wrote the song. And I mentioned this in my About Me video and kind of in some of my other videos about how I got into writing, but when I was told I couldn't be an author, I went to lyric writing and I started writing lyrics. And then lyric writing became kind of how I got through some of the emotional times in my life. I've written a lot of very, very personal songs. And while someday I would love to see these songs sung by other artists, or on the off chance of I ever get my vocals to a point where I feel comfortable enough singing them, I could actually sing my own songs, but for now, I'm actually quite comfortable with writing lyrics. I enjoy the process of writing lyrics, and due to recent circumstances, I have realized that lyric writing now comes easier to me, but I've spent over 10 years perfecting my lyric writing. I have a friend who lives in Germany, and she was writing lyrics for somebody who wanted her help with the song. And we spent the next, week going back and forth on Kakao Talk, going over me helping her figure out her lyrics, and then me explaining certain lyrical things to her. My MacBook's being stupid. I actually went back and re-listened to some of our Kakao Talks, because we send voice notes back and forth, so I've re-listened to some of them to come up with some of the main points I wanted to make for this video, because I realized how much I actually know about music and lyric writing. I keep forgetting, and this may sound weird, but I really do keep forgetting that I have a bachelor's in music production. I went to school for music, and I've spent years studying music. I'm no longer pursuing it as my main career anymore, so I feel like I shouldn't know it, but I do. That kind of stuff just doesn't leave you all of a sudden. And realizing how far I've come in my lyric writing and how much work I've put into bettering my lyrics, I thought it might be nice to kind of sit down and do a video on lyrics. Well, a lot of my videos, again, are going to be about my books or being an author. I know there are people out there kind of looking for a little bit of the ins and outs on lyricism and writing lyrics. A lot more people nowadays write and produce their own music. I am still gaining the confidence with production again, but I am very confident in my lyric writing. My lyric writing class was one of the classes that I did ace in my school, so I actually came out of that class with flying colors. My teachers were, for once, actually impressed with me in that class. Now, calling this Lyrics 101, I'm calling it that for a reason, because there are three main parts. And the first two parts aren't even about the structure of writing lyrics, because there's a lot more that goes into writing lyrics than just knowing the structure of a song and how to pick out the certain structures when listening to songs. There's a lot more to it than that. And my friend over in Germany, she's the one who wanted me to make this video especially. She's been hyping me up about doing something with my lyrics and everything, and doing something to put out what I know. So I wanted to go over kind of the three areas I feel like are the most important need to talk about areas if you want to get into lyric writing or even just music production in general. And those three areas are: how do you find inspiration? How do you stay motivated? And then the song structure and the layout of the song. Inspiration and motivation were something that I realized is, when it comes to lyric writing, nobody talks about inspiration and motivation. They always talk about, here's how the song structure works, here's what you need to know to build the song. But when it comes to lyrics, if you want to pursue lyric writing or if you want to pursue music, you do have to be inspired by your lyrics. You have to be inspired by the music. You need to work through all that. Similar to how working through writing, when you choose to do stuff as a career, you have to force yourself to work through those times where you aren't inspired or you don't have motivation. If the universe was kind, we'd only work and create when we're inspired and we'd make bank, but the universe is not terribly kind, and neither is capitalism. So we have to make do. So we're going to talk about how to get inspiration, where to find it from, tips and tricks on that, and then tips and tricks when it comes to motivation and kind of what best to do when you're kind of stuck on a song. And then at the end of this video, the third section, we will actually talk about the lyrical structure of a song, and I will be using one of my songs, Siren Storm, to kind of go over a little bit lyrical structure and everything with that. Every lyricist and every writer, musician is going to find inspiration from something that is important to them. There are a good amount of the people whom I listen to and some of my favorite lyricists that pull inspiration from their own lives, similar to how I do. I've written quite a few songs about a couple of my exes. I've written a couple of songs about my parents' divorce. I like to pull inspiration from my emotions and what I have been through. And that is, to me, some of the better inspirational songs out there are the ones that you can relate to because the artist wrote them from experience, which is part of the reason why I get annoyed with people who are mad at Taylor Swift, because she is an amazing lyricist. She just has been in a lot of relationships. There's nothing wrong about that. Her lyrics are still really good, and I relate to a lot of them. So, like, I have words for the people who pick on Taylor Swift because she is one of the best lyrical writers in America right now, and I am in love with what she does with her lyrics, especially now that she's re-releasing her own albums. You can see her growth with her musicality and her lyricism, especially in the all too well 10-minute version. And again, she pulls from life events and inspiration. There are people out there who can write without inspiration, though, without like pulling from events. Sometimes people can find inspiration from other people, things that they haven't experienced but somebody else has. I recently challenged myself to try this form of inspiration because I always write from my experiences. I have a song called Matchstick Love about meeting somebody, spending an amazing time together, and having this wonderful whirlwind summer romance, and then suddenly gone. They're just gone, they disappear, you never hear from them again, and you're just left alone. I have never experienced that. Most of my relationships have not lasted that long or been that intense, but I wanted to try it, and I still feel like the lyrics came out decently well, but it's not a song I'm confident about. And that's why you need to find what kind of inspires you to write the lyrics. Sometimes you can get a little bit of both. Maybe you see something in a TV show or a movie, or you hear something somewhere that kind of makes you go, oh, that would be a cool song. And then you can go from there. Or you've gone through something in the past and you suddenly think about it one day and you're like, oh, maybe I should write a song about this. I know what this is about. I know how I feel about this. Similar to my song, well, similar to my first song, As Perfect. I wrote it when I was 13. I am now turning 25 this year. And last year I took As Perfect, and now after many years of therapy and dealing with what happened with my parents, I rewrote the song with all the new emotions and the new thoughts and feelings and everything. And finding inspiration from past events like that can help make a song better. Something else is that when it comes to inspiration, if you're not feeling super inspired about a song, you can always revise it later. I revised about 5 songs last year. I took 5 of my previous songs and I rewrote them to make them better. I'm still actually in the process of revising and rewriting some of my lyrics because I wrote them at a time when I was still not processing my emotions. Had to cut off because my brother called me for a Christmas thing for my grandma we're trying to figure out. But yes, I have been revising and working on revising songs that I was either too emotional or not emotional enough to handle. I always highly encourage if you've had like a song for like a couple of years that you haven't like put it onto music or haven't published on SoundCloud or Spotify, I highly recommend revising it because you may feel different about it a couple of years down the road. And sometimes also inspiration can be drawn from other artists, other lyricists, songs. Dope Lovers by DPRE, and he has a line in there, he doesn't know she's tired, or he can't you see she's tired? And that actually inspired a song of mine. That one line inspired an entire song of mine. So you can pull inspiration from anywhere. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because sometimes I even just find inspiration from nature. If I am sitting outside, or if I go out to the forest or the woods somewhere and I just sit there, I will eventually find some inspiration for something. Some idea will come to me. Nature is another catalyst for me when it comes to my inspiration. So you can find inspiration from genuinely anything. You just need to figure out what your inspiration comes from. And it may take a lot of trial and error to figure out what situations or moods you need to be in to get inspired. Sometimes the hardest thing is being inspired when you're in a healthy place. And I know that's something that a lot of creatives fear. They fear that if they're healthy and they're not struggling, then they're not inspiring. But that is not the case. As somebody who is much better now than when I was when I wrote these songs, I can look back and say those songs were not fantastic, and I have edited them to high hell, and they sound much better now. But you do not lose your inspiration just because you get healthy. That is something I would also like to point out, is that inspiration will forever come and go in waves. It doesn't matter, healthy, mentally ill, it doesn't matter. Inspiration comes and goes in waves. I still have days where I will just not be inspired to do anything, and it will irritate me to no end because I'm in a good place mentally. But sometimes the inspiration's just not there. Another thing with inspiration, like I said, is that what I really mean by it comes and goes is that you can get inspiration from anything. If you want to pursue any creative career full time, something I highly suggest is that you carry around a notebook or have a thing on your phone dedicated to inspiration. So when it hits you, you can jot down the idea. You can jot down the lyric that came to your head, the story idea, the art piece idea, sketch it out. Something to get that out of your head onto paper or onto your phone so that you can come back to it later and you can remember what inspired you. My friend Kay, who lives with me, she bought me this a couple years ago, and I've been using this ever since. Anytime I'm out somewhere and I have a lyric idea, I fill this with lyrics, and it has quite a few random pieces in it that I haven't done anything with yet, but they're all here so I can go back to when I want to write these songs. But this has been my life-saving. This is one of the things I learned early on when it came to lyric writing, was to keep a notebook with you. And if you want to pursue lyric writing, I highly recommend notebooks are going to become your best friend. Or like I said, even because not everybody is as old school as me, you can just have a notes app on your phone specifically dedicated to lyrics. I also have one on my phone for lyrics as well, but this is still kind of my go-to. But again, I started writing lyrics when I was 13, and I didn't have access to modern technology till I was 18. So I'm very old school sometimes when it comes to this stuff. And a final thought for inspiration is don't force inspiration. Yes, sometimes you have to write when you're uninspired, but don't try to force yourself to be inspired every time you work on a song. Otherwise, you're never going to have a good song. If you force yourself to be inspired, your songs are not going to sound right because you are not inspired in a good way. And just don't force yourself. Inspiration will come, and you just have to figure out the triggers that you need to get the inspiration. And the next bit is on motivation. How do you stay motivated? What do you do when you're stuck on the song that just won't work? And that's like the hardest thing for me when I decided to pursue all of this full-time, both my writing, my lyricism, and my being an author, is that you can't always write when inspired and motivated. And motivation especially is really hard because writing when not inspired gets easier. You can get in the hang of still writing and doing things when you aren't fully inspired, but when you're lacking the motivation, that's where the struggle comes in, and that's where you kind of got to take some time to really take a step back from your work, because not being motivated and forcing yourself to work is so much more detrimental than I think anyone realizes. And I guess the biggest, most truthful answer to what to do when you're struggling with a song, what to do when a song is stressing you out, what to do when you just no longer are into the lyrics, how do you finish? The honest answer is you don't. At least not right now. You never throw away a piece of creative work. That is also something that I did not follow when I was younger, and I regret immensely to this day. You never throw away a piece of creative work, ever. And when it comes to songs, You may not feel motivated or inspired right now, but you might later. And so what you need to do is you need to put it away and take a step back and return to it later after working on a different project. Work on something that is inspiring or something that you are motivated to do. And then maybe by the time you're done with that, you'll be able to go back to the other one. Who knows, you might not even touch it for a couple of years if you're able to do that. I had a couple of songs that I started writing in high school and then I didn't touch until last year. Like, sometimes that just happens. Sometimes the motivation and the emotions just are not there. And that's why it's good, again, to just have a notebook to write down all the emotions and everything. And I swear by this notebook. This notebook is my lifesaver. And sometimes it is even just, you don't even have to completely put the song away. Sometimes you just need to step back and look it over the big picture of the song. Re-go over kind of what you want the song to be, what you want the story to be of the song, how you want the song to build. Think about it in a big picture aspect, and then go back into the details and start reworking some of the details. Now, if you're on a deadline, obviously this is a little harder, and sometimes what helps the most when you're in a deadline or a crunch schedule is taking like an hour or two away from the song, an hour or two to listen to other music. I have found that when you take the time to sit back and listen to other songs, your brain isn't consciously thinking about your lyrics. It probably is subconsciously, but it's not the forefront of your mind. You can focus on the other songs and the other music that's kind of in the same vein as the song you're writing, but not the song you're writing. And maybe through that, you might be able to pull some inspiration from those or regain some ideas for that song. Or on the opposite spectrum, listen to something that's completely different from the song. Who knows? You could even find inspiration from that. It is, again, it's much harder on a deadline, but you still need to take a step back. Even if you're on a deadline, take like an hour or two to just put the song away, do something completely different. Maybe not even listening to music, just do something else. And then come back to it in an hour or two and look at the song again with a fresh head and everything. Sometimes that little break is all it takes to be able to get back into the song and work with you. And if you're still feeling frustrated, take a longer break. Again, deadlines are the difficult part of this, but sometimes just taking that hour or that little bit of time away makes the difference of a good song versus a rushed song. Because there are some songs that just feel and you can tell it's rushed. The lyrics especially don't feel completely cohesive. There are just some songs where you can just listen to it and go, oh, this was one that was pushed through production. And you don't want your song to be sounding like that. And hopefully if you're working with somebody on a deadline, you can't always know if they're going to be kind to you, but hopefully they understand the creative process doesn't always work on a deadline. And the final thing I have for motivation and what to do if a song's not working, if you're feeling uninspired, honest to God, find a confidant. Find somebody else who is as into lyrics and as into music writing as you, and share the song with them and get their opinion on it. Collaboration is honestly the best thing in the music industry, and it is such a wonderful tool. My friend in Germany has helped me actually with a couple of my songs, and I've helped her with a couple of her songs, and we're both kind of bouncing off each other to get into producing music again. Or, well, producing music again for me and starting music production for her. So we're both kind of bouncing off each other. It's always good to have a really good friend who is also into this stuff, who can be an ear for you. And even if the friend's not into it and will just listen to you talk about it and help you work through it, that also helps really well. Because my friend who lives with me, she also has helped me work through some of my songs by just letting me read out lyrics to her. And to have her tell me if they sound good or if they sound a little jumbled, even though they sound good to me. Again, collaboration is going to be your best friend when you are not feeling inspired, when you're lacking motivation, when you're stuck. You want to make sure that you have somebody that you can talk to about the songs and the lyrics. And if anybody ever has songs they want to bounce off of me, I have all my socials linked, so you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter, and you guys can drop me a message to ask me about that, because I love helping people with music. Eventually, I would love, again, to have my music out there, but for now, I'm keeping it kind of close to the belt. but I would love to help other people because I know how hard it is when you don't have somebody. Because when I was first writing my lyrics and writing everything, I had a fairly supportive family for the lyric writing bit, but I didn't have a lot of friends that were understanding or would sit with me and talk to me about it. I only had one friend, and I wrote a song with her called I'm Worth It, and I'm still working on revising the song now with her help, even though we live 2 states away from each other now. I still am, I've let her know that I'm revising the song, and she was the only person I was able to collaborate with. But then we stopped talking for a few years, and I think it was in those years where I stopped writing. So, and now I have 3 people that I can collaborate with and work with on music, and the support systems will come in time. Sometimes you don't have them, but those collaborative people are going to be a godsend when it comes to any creative career you have. Collaboration is key in creativity. Now on to these actual song structure and the song layout. I have realized over the years with some of my other friends that not everyone, hi baby cat, eat your food. Not everyone knows song structure. I realized with one of my friends, whenever I would say the chorus or the bridge, she didn't know what I was talking. Like, she had an idea, but she didn't really know. And that's kind of the realization moment I had of, oh, right, I study music for a living. I've done it since I was a kid, just nonchalantly. So I know all the ins and the outs of the structure. So it's not that complicated. It's just, it can be a lot. And I have a lot of thoughts on song structure in modern music and K-pop and everything. And I have a lot of thoughts, but let's talk about the basic structure of a song. So this never actually used to be the base structure of songs either. This base structure that I'm going to tell you guys is the new modern base structure. Music didn't actually used to follow this formula long ago. There's a lot of other structures out there that you can look up, but the A-B formula is fairly kind of what you would expect. In the modern music, you have an optional intro, then you have your verse 1, and then your optional pre-chorus, and then your chorus. The chorus is the hook. This is the part of the song that you want people to remember. The pre-chorus is the build into the hook. It adds to the hook, but is not a part of the verse. The chorus is going to be the most important part of your song lyrically, because you want people to remember those lyrics. You follow the chorus up with the second verse, which has similar musical tones to the first verse, but different lyrics for the second verse. The second verse is then once again followed by the optional pre-chorus and the chorus, and then that second chorus is followed by the bridge. The bridge is the break in the song. It is literally the point in between it's the bridge of the song. The bridge is kind of like that point in the song where it shakes up the music. The music changes, the lyrics shift. It's the kind of like the climax of the song. This is the point in the song where the story takes a drastic turn in your writing and everything, and you add a bit more parts to the story. Now, a bridge is usually followed by just the chorus. In this part of the song, this is where they usually ditch the pre-chorus and just go straight into the hook of the song. And then you do have an option of doing a chorus and an ending chorus, or just an ending chorus, which is either a longer or shorter version of the original chorus, and it's slightly different, and the lyrics sometimes are slightly changed for an ending chorus. Then, of course, since you have the optional intro, you have the optional outro as well. Intros and outros are not standard. They are not necessary lyrically. Neither are lyrical pre-choruses as well. Those are not necessarily standard. They're becoming a little more standard in modern music, but they're not necessary. So, yeah, let's see. So it's intro. So if I just lay everything out, it's intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro is kind of the structure of what songs are. Now, you'll notice in studying these that there are some songs that have choruses as the intro or use pre-choruses as the intro. Those are also not super common, but they are more common now. Lyrically, the way this goes is the verses and the bridge build the story. You have kind of like a part A in the first verse, part B in the second verse, and then your climax in the bridge. And then the chorus is kind of like the main part of the story. Again, it's the hook of the song. The intro and the outro can be used as the outro can be used as a final ending piece, and the intro can be used as a little intro piece to kind of get you into the story. So, for example, for an intro for my song Somewhere Ahead, I use the intro to kind of set up the idea of the song, and it starts with breakups are never easy, rejection is even worse. When you harbor feelings, there's always a chance it'll end in tragedy. That sets up kind of the theme of the song, and then the verse goes into the story behind the song. The outro is more used as kind of like a final piece, an ending bit to kind of like tie off the song with a nice neat little bow. Another part of the structure that's not used as often, and I think I wish would be used more now after watching it be used so beautifully recently, is a refrain. A refrain is similar to a bridge, because a bridge breaks the song. A bridge changes the musical tone. And that's what a refrain does. A refrain changes the musical tone, but that refrain can be used anywhere in the song. It doesn't have to be used at the bridge. If you listen to Everglow's Pirate, I will link that down below. I will link the lyrics to it as well. The refrain is used in tandem with the chorus and the pre-chorus to break the song and give it a little added structure to it. Add an extra section to the song, if you will. That refrain was used absolutely beautifully, and I have not seen a refrain used like that in a long time, so it's kind of nice to see that being used. K-pop lyrics are always a little bit more out of the box. They're always willing to change up the structure, unlike in modern American music. Modern American music is very straightforward, this clear-cut A-B structure they always use. You don't see them shift as much as K-pop music does, which is part of the reason why a lot of my newer lyricists that I love are in K-pop. They're always willing to push the boundaries of how you structure a song. And I've even heard songs in K-pop that don't even have a bridge. They have a third verse. It still follows the musical structure of the first two verses and continues the story onward and ends with the chorus. So you don't even have to use a bridge in your songs either. You can structure your song however you want to structure your song. It doesn't have to follow any kind of a structure at all. That is the other thing. I'm teaching you what parts of the song structure you can use, but you can rearrange it to fit whatever you want and to kind of fill in the story however you want. Whatever works with your music or with your story, you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of lyric writing. That's why I like writing lyrics so much, is a lot of my songs do follow the A-B standard, but I've been working on branching out and trying different structures as well. I think it's kind of cool that you can do so much with lyric writing. Now, I do want to go through like I said, I wanted to go through my song Siren Storm, just to kind of give you guys a song to really kind of hear this all with. I've lost it. Hold on. Was Siren Storm before Matchstick Love? I wrote a lot of songs last year. Last year was my goal to write a lot of music, and I did that. I haven't written a lot in the tail end of the year, but I'm starting to write more this year now, and so we're getting somewhere. So with Siren Storm, I follow the structure pretty blatantly. It's a verse, a pre-chorus, chorus, and a bridge. And the cool thing about choruses is you can change up each of the choruses. You can just repeat the chorus, or you can change up the wording of the chorus as well. I have a couple of songs where the music and the rhyming systems are the same, but the words are different for each chorus. The chorus helps build the song as well. And that's what I mean by you can do anything with it. I've used the chorus to build the story as well, which was kind of nice. I'll go over that song as well, but we're going to start with Siren Storm. So with Siren Storm, the first verse is, when we first met, you shined with pure innocence. I thought you were a beautiful gift, a new star in my dark skies. Your eyes were like green gems, drawing me in oh so easily. The pre-chorus following that, which the pre-chorus again leads into the chorus. The pre-chorus is, you had me fooled. I was ready to give myself up to you. The storm clouds rolled in and you almost had me in your grasp. Now the chorus. The chorus is the hook. Again, this is the part of the song you want people to remember. The chorus for this is, waves crash as the thunder roars, lightning strikes along darkening shores. You were the siren in the shallows, calling me into the storm. You tricked so many souls the same way, drawing them into your sea of lies. But when the lightning strikes, your true face shines. This whole song started with that line, when the lightning strikes, your true face shines. I can even hear the guitar riff. I want to go with that in my head. This is one song I will end up producing for myself at some point, and I am very excited for when I get to that. And now you'll see here in the second verse, this builds off the story in the first verse, where the chorus is the hook. It is what is going on, what is happening. The verses build the story. So the second verse starts with, your innocent song entranced my heart. My feet were in the water and I made my way to you. You shined like the sun, guiding me to brighter days, but you blocked out the view of the storm brewing behind you. And then I followed that with the pre-chorus again and the chorus. Those repeat verbatim again to kind of build the tension of the song. And then after that chorus, we come to the bridge. The bridge is the breaking point, the climax of the story. This is the moment in which you realize what's wrong. This bridge, it is, I pull back as lightning flashes, the sunshine surrounding you vanishes. The storm rages on and the wind slashes my skin. Wounded, I turn back to the safety of the land. You almost had my soul, you almost had my heart. Thank God I saw the siren storm before you tore me apart. And then I follow that up with just the chorus, because there's no reason for the pre-chorus in this instance, because the pre-chorus is talking about how they almost caught me. But I talked about that in the bridge, so I opted to slash the pre-chorus and just go with the chorus. And ending the song with, but when the lightning strikes, your true face shines, because I think that's a good way to end it, along with another guitar riff refrain. But I grew up as a guitarist initially, so I have a lot of guitar riffs in my head all the time. So as you can see, the story kind of builds with each verse. You hit that climax point, and the chorus is kind of like the grounding piece of the song. It's the part you always come back to, the part that has the most meat of the story in it. And you can see that I'm describing her as a siren instead of just a horrible person. I'm describing her as the siren. So that's something else is when it comes to lyric writing, and I will get into that in my final thought with thinking outside the box, but you don't always have to blatantly state things in the songs. You can use metaphors and ideas and similes and stuff. It can all be different things. Now let me find the chorus example for you guys that I was looking for. So like with this one is called In My Mind. You're reminiscing about the things going on in the past and what you've missed from your previous relationships. So for this one, the choruses are very similar, but they have different lyrical contents to them. So for the first chorus of In My Mind, you have, in my mind, we're driving in your car with the wind in our hair. In my mind, I feel the warmth of your skin as our worries faded away. I know it's been years, but sometimes I think you're still here, if only in my mind. The second chorus changes it up a little bit, and the second chorus is, in my mind, we're lying together, swapping stories and dreams. In my mind, I can feel your lips on mine during all those cold winter nights. I know it's been years, but sometimes I think you're still here, if only in my mind. So it works in tandem with the verses to build the story, and every chorus is different. The ending chorus is, while the bridge is still the climax of the song, the ending chorus is more like a cohesive ending. And it brings a nice, good, cathartic ending to the song. And that's kind of what ending choruses are more for. When you change up a chorus completely to give it a cathartic ending, that's kind of what I would say you want to use an ending chorus for. The ending chorus for this one is, in my mind, I choose to relive the best parts of our story. In my mind, I remember who we were before you gave up on yourself. I know it's been years, but I hope that you found yourself, if only in my mind. So it's that release of emotion is what the ending chorus is really used for. And that's kind of also what an outro can be used for as well, that release of emotions, the cathartic ending. It just depends on the story you want to tell with your song. And it's the structure will always depend on the story you are telling and finding the structure that works best for that story. And once you know the structure, that's kind of when you can mess around with it and move things around and test different styles. Because you shouldn't stick with the regular A-B structure of only following this format. Granted, some of my elitist teachers really did try that, despite me passing that class with flying colors. My teachers really didn't like me as a musician, so my schooling was always interesting. But there's a lot you can do with songs. I've written over 20 songs, each one different, each one with its own unique style. I have one song where the verse and the intro are kind of blended in together. You don't know where one ends and one begins because I couldn't really find a good way to split them apart. So it depends on what you want to do with the song. And in line with that, as a final thought, when it comes to lyric writing, think outside the box. Do what somebody else would never dream of doing. Work on a structure that isn't something they'd think of. Write a lyric that isn't something somebody would, come to mind. Metaphors, similes, rhyming. You don't have to rhyme your music. I know it sounds better and it does work, but I don't always rhyme my music either. And some of these lyrics, I've been told, still sound really good. So rhyming isn't even something you have to do. That's my think out of the box thing, is I don't rhyme. God forbid I ever let my teachers hear what I've written now. There's so much that you can do with your lyrics. You don't have to be stuck to a singular format or a single way of writing lyrics. You can write your lyrics however you want. You can do whatever you want with them. You don't have to be stuck into the confines of what people tell you should be when it comes to lyric writing. You just need to do what feels comfortable to you for your song. That's it. That's all there really is to it. Don't be afraid to write some obscure, ambiguous piece of lyric that nobody quite understands but is still good. If it means something to you, that's what matters more. More than anything is the lyrics need to mean something to you, and you need to like your own lyrics. Don't change your lyrics or your way of writing just for somebody else. Write your lyrics how you want them to be written. I hope this helps somebody out there, some newbie writer, some lyricist, some producer trying to get more tips on lyrics. I really hope this helps someone because I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of thoughts on music and writing and lyrics. I've been doing this, like I said, for so long. Over 10 years now, because I started lyric writing when I was 13 and I started writing in general before that. So I have a lot of thoughts on this stuff and a lot of advice that sometimes doesn't feel like it's advice, but I've been told by plenty of other friends who have come to me for this advice that it is genuine advice. And that's why I wanted to share it here with you guys, because I feel like somebody could use this. And honestly, my final thought for this video is just don't give up. I forced myself to try to stop writing lyrics because I thought it would be better for me, and it made my mental health so much worse, which is why I spent last year writing over 10 songs last year. About 10? Well, wrote about 5, revised over 5, but I got back into it because not doing it was making me feel worse because I wanted to do it. So, and I've said this in a lot of my videos when it comes to all this writing stuff, but don't give up on your dreams and just keep trying. It takes a lot of work. I'm not the best lyricist out there. I probably won't be for a while, and I certainly wasn't when I started. I have come a long way from my very first song. I wrote my very first song in 2013? 2012? 2012. No, that would have been 2011. 2011 is when I wrote my very first song. So, I have a lot of experience and a lot of practice, and I've done a lot of research, and sometimes you just have to study other songs, look at other lyrics, see what other lyricists do. It's not bad to pull inspiration from them. Pulling inspiration from other creatives is the best thing. And I would love to hear some of your guys' lyrics. I know it's always nerve-wracking to share your lyrics with people because you're worried about copyright and somebody stealing your songs, but I will never do that, ever. I have had somebody do that to me once upon a time, so I would never do that. I am very much here for privacy, and I would love to help you guys. If any of you are struggling with your lyric writing, I would love to be there for you. Again, all my socials are linked down below if you want to try and find me and talk shop with lyrics and music about me, or with me. It's a long day. So yes, go on there, find me. I do really hope this helped somebody. And if you guys want more about my lyrics and everything, just let me know, and maybe I'll do another lyric video on here for you guys someday in the future.